Hello everyone, my name is Madeline Hartke here with ABC News Tonight, giving you fast-breaking developments of the poliomyelitis or polio cases. The number of cases is soaring just today with over 25,000 cases just in Ohio. For those who don't know, polio is a disease that is highly contagious and it spreads through feces or through water, mostly through ingestion, but also through coughing and sneezing. A lot of effects are taken around the country. Swimming pools are being shut down. Parents are limiting playtime with their kids, and testing water is becoming more and more frequent by the day. Let's go to Emmy Corner, who's with Dr. Salma Abdullahi, to go more in depth to truly understand this quickly spreading virus.
Thank you, Madeline. I'm Emmy Corner, and I'm here with ABC News with Dr. Salma Abdullahi at Nationwide Children's to further dive into this deadly and dangerous disease. Dr. Abdullahi, can you tell us some more about how this disease starts and spreads?
Yes, of course. So polio occurs when a person becomes infected with the polio virus, a dangerous virus that targets the nervous system. It's highly contagious and it spreads through contaminated food, water, or close contact with an infected person. So the symptoms vary. In milder cases, patients experience fever, fatigue, muscle stiffness, or headaches. Symptoms that might seem similar to the flu, but however, in severe cases, the virus invades the spinal cord, leading to muscle weakness, paralysis, or even difficulty breathing. This paralysis can become life-threatening. It affects the diaphragm or other critical muscles. Polio spreads mostly easily in areas with poor sanitation or where vaccination rates are low. Once inside the body, the virus replicates in the throat and intestines, where it moves to the nervous system, and then it causes lasting damage to the motor neurons. This explains why it leads to the paralysis in some cases. Also, there's no cure for polio. Treatments focus on managing the effects of the disease. Some of these treatments include ventilators to help with the breathing, bed rest, drinking fluids to stay hydrated, and applying heat pads to the muscles, heat packs to muscle aches.
Well, thank you, Dr. Abdullahi, for that detailed explanation. As we can see, polio is a very deadly disease that, if not treated well or prevented correctly, can turn into something much worse than it has to be. Thankfully, we can manage these by practicing good hygiene and keeping our high vaccination rates up. And so now we're going to switch back over to Madeline, who has some practical strategy for keeping ourselves and our loved ones safe.
Yes, thank you, Emmy. The Office of Dr. Abdullahi provided us with advice to give you all about how to handle this virus. First off, limit physical interactions with other people and drink strictly bottled water. The virus is spread primarily through contaminated water, but the chances of your own tap water is relatively low, but researchers and doctors aren't completely sure. So take precautions and just be safe. We highly recommend stocking up on bottled water. And even though it's primarily spread through contaminated water, it's also spread through airborne contact. So cover your mouth when you sneeze and cough. An additional precaution you can take is to wear a mask.
I'm here at the Ohio Historical Society with Dr. John Wayford, who is here to tell us more about the history of this disease and how it's been treated.
Thank you, Madeline. It's an honor to have you here. Well, basically, I've been fascinated with polio ever since I was a young boy. My grandfather was struck ill by the disease, paralyzed for the rest of his life. But while most people seem to think polio was a disease only in the 1900s, it actually is not that way. Polio was first really written down in the 1789 when a British physician, Dr. Michael Underwood, diagnosed it as a debility of the lower extremities, meaning paralysis, mostly in infants and small children. It wasn't until 1840 as well that polio was later categorized as a contagious virus, but there still wasn't much knowledge about it. The first outbreak of polio wasn't even until 1916, and that's what your stereotypical polio thoughts and stereotypes come from. And so 1916 happened, so you have these people being paralyzed all over the place, catching cases of the virus, being put in iron lungs, shut-up pops. And so these iron lungs basically use these ventilators and breathing bellows to make your lungs breathe for you, since you become paralyzed, the muscles that cause your lungs to breathe become paralyzed. So these iron lungs were what did it for you. And basically you'd be in a nice big long tube with just your head sticking out on the end, and that would basically just be the rest of your life. It was a miserable way to live. And the vaccine was first developed in 1955 by Dr. Jonas Salk, who used a dead version of the virus to come up with this vaccine. And so then you have people being injected with it, and it's actually causing a lot of cases to go down. It's being spread around the world. And that vaccine was later improved upon by Albert Sabin, who used a live polio virus, which is a lot more stronger and effective in building immunity. And so now you have these vaccines, being distributed across the world, and it's actually done pretty good, and while today polio is still not completely eradicated, since there is still no cure for it, there are these vaccines everywhere. And so polio is mostly only prevalent in like third world countries where they either don't have great hygienics or they just don't have a lot of access to the vaccine or the funds to do so. And that about sums up the history of polio today.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Woodford, for that very lengthy explanation. And that about wraps up our polio segment for now, so thank you all for tuning in. I'm Madeline Harkey with ABC News, signing out.